One more time. Hi. So today it's day 6 of the meditation challenge, and we're going to talk about the now and balance in the now, or presence, whatever you want to call it. So I like to think of it as there's a scale, and in the center is now. On one side there's the future, on one side there's the past. What I want to talk about is why we tend to, as human beings, struggle. I think there's a lot of content out there. There are a lot of people in both the self-help spiritual realm and even sometimes in the psychological realm. And I would almost say like pop psychology realm, but there's a lot on two different sides that really push be now, be present, be this, be that, like it's easy and natural. Okay. And to a certain extent, it is natural-ish, but I also think it's important that we cut ourselves a break and that we understand why it can be so hard to be in the present and to let go of that shame and blame and criticism and just understand what it is so that we can identify our patterns that are keeping us stuck in the past and then reliving it or almost causing us to be unable to escape it from our future so that we can live in the present and just allow for new opportunities to come into our lives, right? Because that's kind of balance to be present. So why do we struggle with presence and now? Our brains are like computers. They're like, what? Well, it makes sense actually, because humans made computers. So our brains take in stimulus constantly. All of our senses, our interoceptive and exteroceptive senses, are taking in cues about what's going on with us. And inside there's a huge amount, I shouldn't say huge, but there's a balance of hormones and chemical releases and neurotransmitters and all of this stuff going on. And those things kind of create our experiences internally. So we're taking in stimulus, even taking in stimulus here, we've got reactions going on, we have emotions, and we have a spectrum of emotions. Now, our programming is often based on early life experiences. As we get older, those early life experiences sometimes get reused for other experiences. So an example is our relationships later on in life tend to be a reuse of the wiring from our parental relationship because of attachments. When there's dysfunction in our past that we haven't really identified or is just kind of lurking in that programming, right? We're not consciously aware of it, but it's there. And we've had emotional responses to that, but we haven't acknowledged those feelings, right? Our brain continues to think that that's the way it has to be. And then we project that into every interaction that we're going to have in the future. And then we seek out the people, situations, and other things that will allow us to have that past situation in our future. And the present kind of ends up escaping us. We're not able to see what's available to us in the present because our brain is too busy reliving its past. So we can almost think of it like karma. As we introduce new stimuli, as we do things like cognitive behavioral therapy and other approaches that also have been shown to work with especially trauma and dysfunction, addiction, that kind of stuff. And as we potentially go to groups, we creatively express, we consciously allow ourselves to work through these stored emotions from the past related to instances, putting names or just processing, right? Kind of like computer processing. Those things, what we liked, what we didn't like, and really connecting with ourselves, then we can be more present and we can neutralize or positively align. I like to neutralize those experiences so that our past is, or our future is relatively neutral. We might not know 100% what's going to happen, but we can, with intention, make choices to try to help our future align with what we know we enjoy, what we know we get joy out of, versus what has previously been unhealthy, right? So an example from an attachment perspective might be, maybe we used to be in relationships, we kept finding relationships, but those relationships, they were verbally or emotionally abusive, they didn't believe in us, there's a lot of putting us down, or they were very passionate, and it just felt like they didn't actually care about us, they really just cared about us entertaining them or taking care of them. Sometimes people get put in the role of being like the hero or the savior in the relationship, and the other one is the victim. So anyway, that might have been a dynamic from our parentage, right? It might have been that with our one parent, we were the entertainer, and there was an enmeshment there that maybe wasn't healthy. Or it might be with one parent, we were constantly told how terrible we were, and put down and just dehumanized, right? So then we think that that's what love looks like, and anyone who kind of tries to show us love in a different way, we're going to reject because we're going to self-sabotage because it feels unhealthy. But if we can take a step back, we can look at those patterns and go, you know what? I actually didn't like that my parent and I were kind of enmeshed. I actually didn't like that I didn't feel like I could be myself. I actually want to be with someone who I can talk about what my interests are genuinely and be heard, and I want to feel like I'm loved for me in my relationship. Or I really want to be with someone who's loving and encouraging, or at least neutral, who wants to hear about my opinions and who encourages me to follow what I care about, genuinely, truly believes in me. Then we know that past isn't what we want, right? So then we might have a couple of rough relationships. We might have a few where we go, oh, I'm seeing the red flags. Gotta stop that. But we started it, right? And then as we more and more are conscious to that patterning, and we go, this actively isn't what I want, then we can kind of bring in something that is closer to what we really want, or what really speaks to us and brings us joy. And it's the same with a job. We might realize this actually wasn't for me, but I actually really liked this. I wish it was more like this. And that's how we consciously create a life. That's how we create a life that brings us joy. And that comes from releasing those old patterns, finding that really just allowing our emotions to be okay, right? Allowing it to be okay to feel like I didn't like the way that happened with my parent. Doesn't mean that I don't love them, doesn't mean that I don't think that they're human and that they had their own baggage from whatever happened to them, but that doesn't feel like love to me anymore. I suggest Us, if you're like trying to figure out relationship stuff. It's a great book. I'm blanking on the author's name right now and I feel bad. He's a therapist out of Boston. It's a really great book. Terrence Real. Okay, I got it. It's a great book if that's your particular challenge. There are other books depending on what you're trying to clear out, right? But as we introduce new information about what's healthy, then we can reprogram our patterning. We can start to understand what flags we should actually look for, and we can pick a mate, a job, a lifestyle, or whatever that suits us best. So those are things, that's kind of how, and as we do that, then we know and we feel more comfortable being in our bodies and present in the moment, because we feel safe enough to know that we can see those red flags. We feel safe enough and worthy enough, honestly. It does take some self-worth, because we feel like we're worthy of making conscious choices. We're worthy enough, safe enough, aware enough to sit with what emotions might come up. It takes feeling safe, it takes feeling confident, it takes loving ourselves, and feeling aligned and connected to feel like we can be present, right? So yeah, that's kind of where the balance comes in. We have to learn to love ourselves, feel confident in ourselves, genuinely confident, and to allow for those feelings to come up, let them wave through, and then move through the world. So today is going to be about today is going to be about getting to that point of balance. Who knows what will come up? And that's why we journal or paint or do something at the end, so that if something needs to come up and we know that we need to kind of address that, we have a direction at least to go in and we've processed something. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to close our eyes. We're going to take a deep breath. Okay. Breathe in. Deep breath out. Feeling our abdomen rise and fall. Allowing our back and body to be supported with the surface below us. Taking some deep belly breaths. All right, I'm going to count us down from 5 to 1. And as I count down, we're going to feel more and more relaxed. 5, we feel the crown of our head, our scalp easing. Any tension in our forehead lets go, releases. We feel our eyes sink in, safety. Our jaw releases any tension it might have been storing. We even feel the back of our head and our throat just relax. 4, we feel our shoulders grow heavy, our arms bleeding into the surface beneath us, hands relaxing, chest widens and relaxes. 3, we feel our heart, our lungs, our digestive organs, our back, our stomach relax, melting away any stress and tension, releasing. Our muscles feeling like they can expand and just be. 2, we feel our hips, our lower back, our pelvis, our glutes melt into the surface beneath us, providing us with support. Any muscles release. 2, we feel our shins, our legs, our knees, our feet give way into relaxation. Any tension lets go. 1, we feel at peace, calm, safe. The air around us providing us a warm bubble of support. And we find in front of us space. Literally, we find ourselves in the cosmos, someplace not on Earth. The stars around us, twinkling bright waves of color unfold. With so many galaxies, we're stardust and a speck within the universe. And in front of us, we see a planet, not unlike Earth, but also not quite Earth. As we get closer and closer to the planet, we see multiple moons overhead. And the surface of the planet is lush with random structures. And as we land in a not too dense forest, we find an altar. On the altar, we see scales As we approach the scale, we're told by some sort of a figure. It appears non-threatening, a nature spirit, maybe of this planet, maybe our version of the green man, but some sort of a neutral stardust figure appears behind the scale, not to judge, just to instruct, making it clear that the only judge is actually us. And what we're to do is to lay a string from our heart and a string from our head onto the left side of the scale. And from that string, representations of our heart and head appear like holograms. And we see as the scale is heavy with our pasts, our burdens, our traumas, our relationships, our unhealthy habits. We see all in this unfold as the scale hits heavy against the table altar. And we notice that while the scale is heavy, the holograms are actually very translucent. We can see through them. And we see within them all of this smoke, this dark debris. And all of this dark debris stems from certain instances. As we peer in, we see tiny screens with memories, people, things we've been told, things we experienced, things weighing heavy between our heart and our head. Whatever being, thing, it might even be a version of us, is on the other side, hands us a little vacuum. And we have an option. We can use that tiny vacuum and clean out our head and heart. And as it goes into the vacuum, it'll be illuminated with light and transmuted. Or we can maintain our head and heart as heavy as it currently is, seeing that a mirror image of our head and heart are on the other side of the scale, making the entire scale cave under the weight. Now, we choose, or you can choose, to take the vacuum and insert it into the holograms. As we do, we notice that both sides of the scale start to raise up, taking less and less pressure off the scale, coming further and further into balance. We see as those images, not that they disappear, but that the smoke around them, the negative perception that was so heavy on us, that had such a burden on us, it's being cleared. We might see a few specific memories that we want to hold on to just so that we're aware that they're there. We might not see much to any detail at all. All we see is that now our head and our heart, as we've been vacuuming them, they're clear. Where there once was smoke, we now can see fully through, prismatic. And as we've gotten all the smoke away, we actually see as they become crystalline, reflecting rainbows inside of them. These memories stay They still exist, but instead of being something that causes heaviness, the material becomes light. And we see that our future is reflected in the same way. And instead of the heart and head in the future having anything within them, they're blank, crystalline and blank, but connected. We see that the future is open, and our presence no longer is weighed down. Instead, it can be balanced with opportunity for the future as the scale dips just a little into the past for some weight, allowing us for a little bit more movement in our future and balance. Both sides come to even out. And we see that while we don't know what our future experiences are, there are multiple screens ready for new stories to be within that future. And that we get to choose what those stories look like. And that our stories from the past exist, but we can see them through multicolored lenses, understanding how dynamic and complicated, complex they truly are. We thank ourselves or a cosmic being, whatever provide us with guidance through this exercise. And we bring and integrate both heart and head from the past and future back into ourselves, the strings pulling back into our bodies. We feel lighter, even though we've just put into ourselves, like a weight has been lifted. We take a deep breath, grateful for our surroundings, a breeze in the leaves surrounding us, the lush grass below us. We can hear water in the background. But we know it's time to go. So we choose to let our bodies float. And as we let our bodies float, we descend through the atmosphere back into space, seeing the beauty of the cosmos and feeling as though our heart and head light up like the stars in the sky. Now I'm going to lead us out. As I count from 1 to 5, we start to feel awake, rejuvenated, and rested. 1, we start to become aware of the breath, our abdomen moving in and out, up and down. 2, we feel relaxed but aware and awake, energy starting to flow through our bodies. 3, we become aware of our blood pulsing, hearts beating, muscles starting to contract. 4, we feel refreshed, our fingers starting to move, our toes starting to get active. 5, we open up our eyes and we feel ready to go. So we're going to go ahead, journal, doodle, paint, whatever feels right for you right now. We're going to go for 5 minutes. Again, you can go longer past the 5 minutes. Not saying you can't. I like to keep it, again, short to 5 minutes to make it easier for people who have a time crunch or who only want to do so much reflection, because I can't blame you. So we're going to get started and go. All right, we are at 5:02, so 5 minutes. I did my once upon a time thing. So mine is really pretty simple because it's just about someone falling asleep and then a voice, kind of like a flame within their chest, a voice wakes them up by calling to them over and over again. When they wake up, they see the world isn't the same world that they had gone to sleep to, and they decide to explore it, letting their heart lead the way. The voice allowing the heart to lead the way, and the voice to grow louder and louder. I don't know quite how it. I mean, I think I have an idea of how it ends, but I don't mind not going all the way through to the end. I just like this as a creative exercise. Hopefully this has helped you and you find some peace, presence, and center. If memories came up, please feel free to write on them. If you have a therapist, talk to them about them. If you have a group fellow travelers, a sponsor, someone that you can talk to them. If you have someone safe in your life, because it's important to address these things, because if it came up vividly enough for you to kind of remember, or if a memory, so it might not have come up right away, if a memory surfaces in the next day or so, it could be that it's just something that was brought on by this. It's a pattern that a piece of you is saying, we want to recognize this and stop it. So again, if we can identify the pattern consciously and we can think it through and try to neutralize the way our body has interpreted or felt that, then we have more of an ability to move through it, and it's no longer going to be lurking in the background, negatively impacting the way that we go about life. So thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you have a great day. Yeah.